Prix that I have ever seen in the whole of my life.
What I'm about to tell you is the story of the most chaotic, jaw-dropping, absolutely mental Formula One race that has ever been run. And trust me, I've seen some wild stuff in this sport. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix wasn't just a race. It was a masterclass in how everything that could go wrong did go wrong in the most spectacular fashion possible. We're talking about a 13-car pileup that looked like a demolition derby, a literal fist fight in the paddock, and a finish so dramatic that even the great Murray Walker was left speechless. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this single race changed how F1 approaches wet weather racing forever, and why some drivers still wake up in cold sweats thinking about Eau Rouge in the rain. But first, let me paint you a picture of just how insane 1998 was shaping up to be. Going into Spa, the championship fight was absolutely electric. Mika Häkkinen in the McLaren was leading with 77 points, just 7 points ahead of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari. And even David Coulthard was still mathematically in the hunt. Every point mattered, every position counted. Now, if you know anything about Spa-Francorchamps, you know it's already one of the most dangerous tracks on the calendar. It's fast, it's unforgiving, and when it rains, well, let's just say it separates the heroes from the mortals real quick, and boy, was it about to rain. Saturday qualifying felt deceptively straightforward at the front of the grid, which should have been our first warning that Sunday was going to be absolutely bonkers. In a classic display of McLaren dominance, Mika Häkkinen grabbed pole position, barely edging out his teammate David Coulthard by just 1/10 of a second. But beyond the top two, the track was already showing its teeth. While the front runners were setting blistering times, other drivers were having a much tougher time. Mika Salo had a massive shunt in his arrows, completely destroying the car. And even the world champion Jacques Villeneuve had a huge moment in his Williams that he somehow managed to save from the barriers. It showed you just how on edge everyone was. To top it all off, Damon Hill in the Jordan managed to snatch third place, beating Michael Schumacher. Jordan getting P3 at Spa. That's like your local pub team beating Manchester City. It just doesn't happen. The track was already telling us that this was going to be a long weekend. Sunday morning arrived, and despite the forecast calling for dry conditions, the Belgian weather gods had other plans. It started raining early, and not just a light drizzle. We're talking proper, biblical, Noah's Ark levels of rain. Now, here's where the genius and madness of F1 strategy comes into play. The heavens had opened, and everyone on the grid faced a crucial decision. Stick with the full wet tyres for maximum grip on the soaked track, or gamble on intermediates hoping the rain would ease off. While a handful of drivers like Jacques Villeneuve went for the intermediates, the majority of the grid, including the Rainmaster himself, Michael Schumacher, chose to play it safe and start on the full wets. Little did they know, tyre choice would be the least of their worries. When those lights went out, everything looked normal for about, 3 seconds. Häkkinen got away cleanly, but behind him, the spray from the cars created what can only be described as a moving wall of water and death. The drivers couldn't see more than a few meters ahead. Imagine driving at 200 miles per hour through a car wash while wearing a blindfold. That's essentially what these guys were dealing with. And then it happened. Eddie Irvine's Ferrari made contact with Coulthard's McLaren, sending the Scotsman spinning across the track like a pinball. Though Coulthard would later admit his own mistake caused the initial spin. It was a high-speed missile heading straight into the pack at Eau Rouge, one of the most dangerous corners in motorsport. What followed was carnage. Cars were flying everywhere, a blinding spray turning the track into a demolition derby.
David Coulthard into the wall will stop the race.
They'll have to red flag
this.
this.
Terrible. Look, this is quite appalling. This is the worst start for a Grand Prix.
The sound of carbon fiber exploding against concrete barriers echoed through the Ardennes forest like gunshots. A staggering 13 cars were involved, and while some would be able to limp back to the pits, the damage was catastrophic for others. The likes of Rubens Barrichello, Olivier Panis, Mika Salo, Johnny Herbert, Toranosuke Takagi, and Alexander Wurz were all caught up in the melee, their cars utterly destroyed. They wouldn't be able to make the restart. Yet, somehow miraculously, in a high-speed accident of this magnitude, nobody was seriously hurt. The safety technology that Jackie Stewart had fought tooth and nail for in the 70s had just saved multiple lives. After nearly an hour of cleanup, and I mean literally scraping cars off the barriers with shovels, they lined up for a restart. Only 18 cars left. The atmosphere was tense. electric, like everyone knew they were about to witness something special. As the crews worked frantically to clear the wreckage, the teams whose cars were destroyed faced a new challenge. With just over an hour to get ready, they had to prepare their spare cars. Both Eddie Irvine and David Coulthard, despite being at the center of the first lap chaos, managed to get back on the grid. Irvine took Michael Schumacher's spare car while Coulthard took McLaren's, a testament to the sheer desperation and determination to keep racing. Damon Hill, who'd had a nightmare first start, seized his moment. This time, he nailed it perfectly, threading the needle between both McLarens and taking the lead as they came around La Source. But if you thought the chaos was over, you clearly don't understand how Belgian Grand Prix works. Häkkinen, the championship leader, spun his McLaren 180 degrees right at La Source, ending up facing the wrong way and stationary like he'd taken a wrong turn at a roundabout. Johnny Herbert, with nowhere to go, slammed straight into him. Both drivers out, just like that. And we weren't even 5 laps in yet. As the race settled into some kind of rhythm, the rain decided it wasn't done playing games. It got worse. The track became a river, and these F1 cars turned into very expensive boats. Damon Hill, sitting pretty in the lead in his Jordan, was living the dream. This was a team that hadn't won a race in their entire existence, and here they were, leading at Spa in conditions that would make seasoned sailors nervous. But Michael Schumacher, he was hunting. Rain or shine, that man was a predator, and he could smell blood in the water. It was a bizarre sight to see Hill's Jordan leading the race, but on lap 8, the Rainmaster put an end to the fairy tale. Schumacher came up behind Hill, made his move into the bus stop chicane, and just like that, the lead was his.
Line into the bus stop. Michael Schumacher leads in Belgium.
It was a classic Schumacher move, a display of pure skill that made it clear to everyone why he was a 2-time world champion. For the next 19 laps, Schumacher was in his element. He was pulling away from the field like they were standing still, building a lead of over 30 seconds. The championship was slipping away from Häkkinen with every passing lap. Schumacher caught up to David Coulthard, who was about to be lapped. Now, getting lapped is part of racing. You move over, let the faster car through, everyone goes home happy. But in these conditions, with spray limiting visibility to almost zero, things got complicated fast. Schumacher was getting impatient. You could see it in his body language, the way he was gesturing in the cockpit. He wanted past now. On lap 24, disaster struck. Schumacher, leading the race by a massive margin, came up to lap David Coulthard on the main straight. In the blinding spray, Coulthard moved off the racing line to let the faster Ferrari by. But in a split second of misjudgment, whether due to the spray or a misunderstanding of Coulthard's intentions, Schumacher's Ferrari slammed into the back of the McLaren.
Oh God! Michael Schumacher hits David Coulthard and is out of the Belgian Grand Prix.
The impact ripped the right front wheel clean off the Ferrari, and just like that, a certain victory was gone. But here's where it gets spicy. And I mean ghost pepper. Call the fire department spicy. Schumacher limped back to the pits, his race over, his championship hopes in tatters. He was so furious that he threw his steering wheel at his mechanic, and that was just the warm-up act. Still in his racing suit, helmet, hair and all, Schumacher marched straight to the McLaren garage like a man possessed. He found Coulthard, who still had his helmet on, and let him have it. We're talking full-blown, finger-pointing, face-to-face confrontation.
He's David Coulthard. He's going to have it out with David Coulthard.
Unbelievable altercation, as you say. Jean touched there. He's dragged his driver away. Michael is absolutely furious.
Schumacher was convinced that Coulthard had brake-tested him deliberately, essentially accusing him of attempted murder at 200 miles per hour. The exchange was so heated that both the Ferrari and McLaren crews had to physically separate them. This wasn't just a disagreement. This was two gladiators going at each other's throats. Coulthard later said Schumacher's behavior was disgusting and that he needed help controlling his anger. The gloves were truly off. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. There was still another Schumacher in the race. Ralf Schumacher, Michael's younger brother, was sitting in third place and climbing through the field like a man on a mission. With 19 laps to go, Damon Hill found himself back in the lead, but Ralf was hunting him down. The gap was shrinking lap by lap. 22 seconds, then 15, then 10. Jordan, a team that had never won a race, suddenly found themselves with both cars in the top 3. They could taste their first victory, maybe even a 1-2 finish. But then came the most controversial moment of the entire race. As Ralf closed in on Hill, the Jordan pit wall faced an impossible decision. Do they let their drivers race and risk losing everything? Or do they play it safe and secure their first ever Grand Prix victory? They chose safety. The radio crackled to life, but the message was not received. A second attempt, then a third. The tension was unbearable. Finally, on the fourth try, Ralph's engineer Sam Michael's voice came through, clear and demanding.
Simon, Ralph behind you is a lot quicker. Ralph is 5 seconds a lot quicker.
Ralph, you cannot overtake Damon. Okay, that is team order. You cannot overtake Damon. You heard me before, didn't you, Ralph, about overtaking Damon? You heard that, didn't you? Get that, Ralph? Did you hear me? Ralph, acknowledge.
Yes, Sam.
Now imagine you're Ralph Schumacher. You're 23 years old, you've just watched your brother's championship hopes explode in front of your eyes. And now you're being told you can't win your first Grand Prix because of team politics. His engineer, Sam Michael, had to repeat the message 4 times before Ralph finally responded with "Yes, Sam." The tension was unbearable. Ralph was right behind Hill, faster in the conditions, and being held back by invisible chains. You could feel his frustration through the television screen. The race ended with Damon Hill taking Jordan's first ever victory, followed by Ralf Schumacher in second. Rounding out the podium was Gene Alesi, taking the final podium of his long and storied career. It should have been a moment of pure celebration. And it was for about 5 minutes. Eddie Jordan was dancing in the paddock, doing his famous jig, champagne flowing everywhere. In a final comical touch to the day, the organisers even played the British national anthem instead of the Irish one, but nobody seemed to care. But the drama wasn't over. Ralf Schumacher, however, was not celebrating. He was still seething about the team orders, his chance at a maiden victory snatched away by his own team. That frustration boiled over. He stormed into the Jordan victory celebration and, according to reports, made it clear he would never drive for the team again. And he wasn't kidding. While he did manage to secure one more podium for Jordan later that season, the die was cast. By the start of 1999, Ralf Schumacher had a new home at Williams, having successfully negotiated his release from the team that had denied him his first win. But here's why this race matters beyond just the drama and chaos. Only 8 out of 22 cars finished. 13 cars were eliminated in crashes and only one, Esteban Tuero's Minardi, retired due to mechanical failure. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix exposed just how dangerous F1 could be in extreme conditions. The FIA took notice, and it changed how they approach wet weather racing forever. These days, if conditions are even half as bad as they were that day, the race gets red flagged or delayed. We'll never see carnage like this again. And honestly, that's probably for the best. Michael Schumacher's crash at Spa had massive championship implications too. Had he won that race, he would have gone into the final round at Suzuka with a 6-point lead instead of a 4-point deficit. That single moment of contact between Schumacher and Coulthard potentially decided the entire season. The 1998 Belgian Grand Prix wasn't just a race, it was a perfect storm of everything that makes Formula One simultaneously brilliant and terrifying. There will never be another race like this since the sport is safer now, more controlled and more predictable. But for those of us who witnessed it, we know we saw something special. We saw the day Formula One lost its mind, and it was absolutely glorious. If you loved this unbelievable story, make sure to like, leave a comment with your craziest F1 moment, and subscribe for more racing drama.